Well, hello and welcome back to the very latest episode of my Love Machine podcast. Now, as a dating coach, one of the things I coach singles on every single day is how to be successful with online dating and dating apps. And believe you me, the world has changed so much in the last 3, 5, 10, 15 years that I thought would be a great topic today to talk to you about all the ways it has changed and all the things you can do right now to make sure that you make it work. So to help me, I am blessed to be joined by the wonderful Dorinda Barker, who is the founder of NXT Connection. Dorinda, how are you doing?
I'm doing good. I'm so excited to be able to have a chat with you today.
I'm really pleased. Now, we talked about this for ages and ages and ages, but life's got in the way. But I thought now was a really, really good time to get you on here because you know a lot about this subject, don't you?
I do. I do. As I tell people, not only am I the president, I'm also a client. And I've been a client for a minute. I've met wonderful men at different evolutions of this online dating process.
Mm-hmm. Excellent. And what made you start the company? Is that why you just enjoyed doing that?
It's so funny. I actually was in a job where I was running a fashion line, and it was crazy being in the fashion world. And I had just produced my first New York fashion week. Everything kind of after that went a little nutty. And I got a job. I was done. And I was like, I want to get a job that I don't have to think about. And I got this job. And I had a bunch of guys I worked with. And one day they were talking about their dating apps. And I looked at their dating apps. And I said, this is why you're not meeting the people and you're meeting suspect people. And I fixed it. And within 24 to 48 hours, they were getting quality matches by me fixing their bios, by fixing their pictures, by fixing them. And the guys were like, this is a business. They're like, we would have paid for this. And that's how that happened. Plus, I was a bartender for a long time. And so bartenders, as you know, are, as I call them as the joke, the poor man's psychologist. And so with that, and always helping my friends with their love life, I put it all together and here we are. And it's fun. I love helping people, and I love seeing the instant connections and the how someone can go from nothing to having great quality matches in the matter of moments and having connections.
I completely agree with you. I think they can be great tools if you know what you're
Yes.
doing. And many people have not got a clue how to make them work. They add the first pictures they can find and they wonder why they're not being matched with the right people.
Yeah.
Now, in terms of, we're talking today about the evolution of online dating and dating apps. So going back way to the start, how things started. Now, I've got no idea how old you are. I'm not going to ask you, but I'll tell you my little story when I first
Yes.
started doing this. This must be probably, oh, goodness me, over 30 years ago. Not over 30 years ago, I'm aging myself there, maybe 25 years ago.
Okay.
What it is, my university had the internet, and it was one of the first internet universities. And I was using forums and chat rooms to meet women back in those days, before online
Yep.
dating was really popular. And then what happened was, after that, they started adding pictures, and then the dating sites appeared. And
Yep.
they were really, really good. We had all the Match.coms and Yahoo Personals, you may remember, back in the day. Do you
Oh my
remember
God, I
that?
forgot about Yahoo Personals. I was going to go with the AOL chat rooms, but I forgot about those. Yes.
Yeah, it's forgotten. That was a really good site back in the day. It was better than anything else I was using. But you're right, the AOL chat rooms, the MSM chat rooms, when we used to go onto Messenger and you talk to people. But the AOL chat rooms, there were all different types on there. And I got lots of dates. Did you use that yourself?
I didn't use that because I was still young, but I did use right when Match came out.
Mm.
So and even before, I was always, when I was younger, always in a relationship. So, but I used Match.com when it was online. Like you would have to hit the link, go into it, and people would just message you. And it was crazy. I couldn't believe it. It was happening all at once. It was a lot. And
Yeah.
now I talk about it to people.
What was interesting is back when I was using these chat rooms and the initial messengers and things, you didn't always know if people were genuine, if it was a man pretending to be a woman or how old they really were. But
Yeah.
most people that I met were genuine people, and that was the interesting thing. But I'm still to this day suspicious of one or two of them. I had some of the weird things. Even now, people have strange excuses for catfishing people, and you hear about how people mysteriously died and things like that. And I got all that. I remember I was talking to some actress, I'm using the inverted commas, the actress back in America at the time, and I had a really good chat with her. And then the next day or the next week, her sister came online instead, because magically had access to her account, telling me that she died in a car crash. And I had this a lot. And then, after, also the interesting thing was, do you remember Facebook used to have a dating side to it originally?
Yes.
Do you remember that?
Yes, I remember that. Yeah.
Yeah, they do Facebook dating now. It's come full circle, but it used to be that you could search for people who were in your area and people that were single. That was a function that you had when it started, which was great. But interesting enough, it was MySpace, which was one. It was the precursor to that. MySpace, where I actually met my wife, because MySpace, yeah, it was great. MySpace was a great website once upon a time. And it had, you can add pictures on there, you can talk about what you did for a living, show your life, your personality, favourite lists, and your top 10 friends. And then she found me on there. So I met my wife from that. And that was better than any online dating site, mainly because it was free. Do you remember MySpace?
Oh, I remember MySpace, and I actually know people who have met on MySpace and have gotten married and had kids, the whole big nine. And MySpace was great because you would have, and a lot of musicians were found on there too, by the way.
Yes.
And yes, a lot of musicians. And so I would meet people on there through music choices. That's why I even brought the music up. It was always, I can't remember off the top of my head these indie artists. And then somebody would be talking to it, and then you could reply back to someone and it would start a whole conversation. And I went on I actually dated somebody from MySpace. Yes.
I did. I had a few dates, but I was the first person my wife ever met, as far as I know. That's what she tells me. Because I was good at doing this. I was good at interacting, and I had a nice profile. Because I used to be an actor back in the day, and I had acting portfolio on there of acting shots and me posing around, which I suppose is again a precursor to Instagram in some ways, isn't it?
Yes.
It was what we did, and I was doing that, and it worked well. And then I met her, and then a few years later, MySpace closed down. And I believe they resurrected it. Didn't Justin Timberlake
they tried to resurrect it, and I was in it. I don't think worked. I don't think it lost its luster. Poor Tom got old.
Yes. Because Tom was the guy that everyone became friends with, wasn't he? Originally?
He was your first friend. Tom was your first friend on MySpace,
He
was. with his little cute picture that he would always have that's still surfacing around the internet.
I can remember.
But so that's when I started also using Match.com in that era. And I dated a couple of guys on Match.com. And so you had the evolution. So you had MySpace, you had Match.com, then came Plenty of Fish.
Oh, yes.
Plenty of Fish. Why can't I think of I deal with this all the time. My friends didn't meet on Plenty of Fish. They met on, what's the other one where I can't think of right now?
There's lots of them. There's eHarmony.
There's so many, but but it was right here on your computer that you could just talk to people. The thing about that, as is today, there wasn't filters put in to protect people. So anyone could talk to you. Anybody could get in touch with you. Anybody could send anything to you. And I mean, I'm sure we were all privy to certain things and certain pictures we didn't want, or people saying, as you said, like, but by the way, I want to know what happened. So it wasn't the actress. She didn't die, and it wasn't her sister. I want to know this whole story.
No way of knowing. She wasn't it turns out she was an extra rather than a full-blown actress, so she was in training. Okay. All I remember about the story was she was very attractive. Told me that she was in the film The Sixth Sense, playing a dead body. Although I've watched that film and can't see anyone that could have been her. That was the first lie. And I used to talk to her. And then her sister came on there saying that she died in a car crash. That was it. In fact, that wasn't the first person. I had this happen on Facebook as well. Before I met my wife, I was talking to somebody who used to always comment on my post, a big fan of mine, very attractive girl, always amazing pictures. And then suddenly her profile disappeared for about 6 months. And then she pops up again. And then she's all being my number one fan, amazing, all this stuff going on. Speaks to me on the telephone, but never meet me. And then suddenly her friend comes on again, and it's the same old story. So-and-so's had a car crash and they've died. And then a few months later, that girl whose friend took over started to try and come on to me and trying to get to know me in the same way, which is very suspicious. Her friends just died in a car crash, and who just want to talk to me? So obviously it was the same person.
Yeah, obviously.
And then it carries on again. The story carries on, and then of course a profile comes back. I said, "Hang on a minute! I thought you died in a car crash." "Oh no, I recovered. It was just an accident." That's terrible, isn't it? And then when I met my wife years later, I managed to have better software, and Google had the Google image search and things like that. And I discovered it was somebody else, and she'd stolen the pictures. And I confronted her over this. Said, "Look, what was going on? Who are you really? I'd like to know." And she said, "Let's just leave it as it was. Have the memories and leave it as it was." And I never know to this day. It could have been a friend of mine. I don't know. It's very suspicious and very weird. But nowadays, it still happens, doesn't it? You still get catfish.
It still happens. I do know people who have been catfished. I'm not going to lie. I have been catfished once, and everything was great. And I thinking that, I was going to meet this person. And then he said he worked for an oil company. Number one, if they work for an oil company, guys, it's believe me, just go left.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
And that happened. And then he called me and said he was stuck in Lagos and
oh no,
he needed me to send him gift cards. And it got to that point. And I was like, nope. I see what happened. I see where we're at. I think that was probably about 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And here's the thing. It does happen in the evolution of how it has come from the computer and then now to your phone. Now on an app version, the best part about it is now it has become, so it started with Tinder as an app. And then everyone followed suit. And Tinder was another one where, once again, really no filters, really nothing there to protect you. And so it's a hookup site. I know they're changing their thought process over there. And I do know people who have actually met and got married on there. I actually know a lot of people who have met online and have gotten married. But then we had Bumble. Now, Bumble then put in that extra added protection for women. And that was put it in the power of the women, which I love. I think that's amazing, putting it in the power of women, because then I found that men came more correct, as I would say. They were more polite. They didn't really send many pictures of their attributes, as we'll say. And so not so much of an attribute.
They're scared to do it. Yeah.
So it's interesting how every few years, new things could pop into place of dating apps, and how we've gone from just typing to now profiles being able to say within 50 miles I don't want a smoker. I don't, this is who I am. And we can go down the list of everything that has, the evolution of a dating app. And you then take, now you don't even have to get off the app if you don't want to on some apps, which is great. You can video chat within the app. You can do a phone call within the app. You can leave a voicemail through the app. Everything before you even decide you want to give someone your phone number.
I actually don't recommend that someone does that, funnily enough. I know there's quite a new feature. The voice notes thing is fine. The reason is, if you are talking to somebody over an app, you've got no idea if that person is single or what their real details are. So for safety reasons, I think that's fine to do it the first time. But before you meet them, do get their real number and call them on it, just to make sure. What do you think?
Oh, yeah. I'm a believer of getting the phone number. If we want to call it old school, we'll call it old school, or just the proper way, honestly. I get, like, if you want to do the voice chat and stuff and hear their voice before you decide to do that. But I always think you have to have a phone call. You have to have their phone number because once again, it goes back to safety. Like, even though within the app, they have safety precautions in there, which is great. I think extra layer of safety is having the phone number, talking to them on the phone or FaceTime or whatever people want to do. Guys, by the way, when you FaceTime a girl, let her know you're going to do that, especially in the beginning phases,
Yes.
because she wants to get herself at least let her put on mascara and a lip.
That's true. She's going to be tired after a long day at work, and you have to give her the
Yeah.
warning. I always say, speak on the telephone first, and then just say,
Yeah.
look, do you fancy a quick chat? My exact line is, I'm more of a talker than a texter. Do you fancy a quick call? Or if they ask you out there and then, so that sounds great, give me a call and we can arrange it. I'm around now. They are sat there
Yep.
on their phone. They're free at that moment to talk to you. Use that moment and get on with it. That's what I'd say.
I love that. And I think that's perfect. I honestly, that is the perfect way
Yeah.
to do it, because first of all, you don't want to be on the apps forever. You don't
No.
want to be on these apps forever. You don't want to, I tell people no more. If you're in a serious texting mode with someone on these apps, 24, 48 hours tops, get on a phone call. If you guys are, if it's a constant communication, get on a phone call and talk, because then you're going to really feel it out before that you go on a date with the person.
Completely agree. Now, what's also evolved is people are making more of an effort in terms of putting pictures up and writing profiles. With online dating, the profiles are much longer. And
Yes.
what's happened is they've streamlined the entire process now, and it's a lot shorter. Do you think that the dating apps are effective when you can only have a very short profile?
I think they're effective, and this is what I tell people, is they can be effective, not infective, but effective.
Yes, that's just COVID, isn't it?
Exactly. It's COVID talk.
Let's not talk about that.
Because I now cough because I got all tipped up.
Don't worry.
But even though it's a shorter process, you can still tell that whole story in that process. Like, tell the story through the pictures.
Yes.
Like, when you have your pictures up, put up pictures that tell a story about you. That's so important. Or in the prompts. I love prompts, because you pick the right prompts and you actually answer the prompts. You're already telling them a story, and you're giving them something to ask you questions about.
I agree. The prompts are very, very useful if you use them properly. There's no
Yes.
point writing random nonsense in them, because people do
Yes.
that. They fill them in as fast as they can, no idea what to say. Which is why if you come to a dating expert like us, we will tell you how to write the prompts in the right way, because
Yes.
it's selling yourself. It's still your advert. I always say that dating is marketing, and your dating profile is your advert for you. So you've got to make it a bit glossy, a bit shiny, and make people interested by putting lots of hooks into it and reasons to contact you. Any advice? What's your favourite prompt? How about that one?
Hinge has one
Yes.
that I loved. It's your most controversial thought, opinion.
Okay.
I think it's your most controversial opinion.
Mm-hmm.
And mine was that I said Logan, the movie Logan with Hugh Jackman, the Wolverine movie,
Yes.
should have been nominated for an Oscar. And so,
Yeah.
even though it is somewhat controversial, but it's fun, and it's also laughable. It's all of those things, and you can take those. But I will guarantee, I can tell you, more times than not, I get answers to that all the time, because guys love those types of movies.
Mm-hmm.
They love. They're like, this chick knows what she's talking about, or woman, or chick woman, and she knows what she's talking about, and it sparks. It's then sparks into so many other things. You can talk about Hugh Jackman, Patrick Stewart, or Sir Patrick Stewart.
Yeah.
Am I correct? I am correct on that one. Yes.
Yes.
He is.
Yeah.
He is a
He's
sir.
a sir. Yes.
Yes, and then it goes into other things, or a Hinge. I love Hinge prompts, to be honest with you. I have a few prompts on Bumble what was the best travel story? Oh, my best travel story is I was in Boston, and the bar that I was in caught on fire.
Wow. Okay.
Yes.
Right.
And so I put that in there, and I get a lot of people, what happened? And then I go through the whole story. It's actually a great story. But the whole thing is, you go through this and you give people something to ask you questions about.
Yes. All you're doing is conversation starters to get the ball rolling. Other than, if you make it easy for them, then you won't get messages like, hi, how are you? or
Yeah.
cute photograph and things like that. That's what people get. You've got to make
Yeah.
an effort in the profile, and then people have a reason to contact you. Make it as easy as possible. Put things in your pictures that are going to start conversations as well. If you
Yes.
like a dog, for example, if you've got a dog, use that. If you like cooking food, a picture of you baking a cake. These sort of things are ideal.
Yes, and they're so ideal. What's better than, and I know this is going to sound traditional, but let's be honest. You and I both know that there are still traditional norms out there and how people think about relationships. If you have a picture of you baking a cake or like the finished product of a cake, that's going to spark something, and that's going to spark something in that person's mind to want to speak to you.
It is. Make it easy and make it fun so they want to spend time with you. Maybe they
Yeah.
like cake. Maybe they want to walk the dog
Maybe
with
they
you.
love cake, maybe, or hiking, or hiking is always one that I see people do. Bicycling, though, the shorts, guys, the shorts.
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't need to go that full throttle on cycling,
No.
but that's just my opinion. But it shows that you're active, which is great.
Mm.
But you something in there that is going to spark an interest with somebody. It's true.
Yeah. What about the future of online dating? What do you think's coming next?
The future of online dating, I feel, is I I'm starting to see it now where the apps will now start having events for
Yes. Yeah.
people to start meeting people.
Yeah.
I have an idea of how something is going to go to. I am not going to be surprised if they're not going to have people like you or I on the
Mm.
apps that you can get in touch with.
Yeah, that's. I've been approached by quite a few of those companies. There's one called Univine that I'm on that does that.
Mm-hmm.
There's Clarity app that does that as well. And not that I ever get much business from them because they're still evolving and growing these things. But I think
Yes.
someone will crack it and someone will make this work, and that's what's going to happen. Because what's missing from these dating apps and the online dating site is actually an instruction manual. They don't really want you to
Yes.
meet somebody quickly and be successful because if they did, they'd lose the customer. That's why it's sort of having us on there isn't always a great idea. But if they charge a premium for that and they get quality members and quality coaches on there, then they'll do it.
Yes.
And in terms of events, I remember there used to be a site in the UK called Face Party that was originally online dating, and they did mega festivals, pop festivals, and it was really
Mm-hmm.
really popular. They stopped doing them, and a single solution I used to work with, they did singles events and online dating.
Yeah.
Match.com used to do events, but they've stopped doing them all because of the pandemic. But I
Yeah.
think this is coming back. And I think what we're getting is virtual events that are being run through these mobile phone apps now as well. This is the next thing, and by Zoom. So you can stay at home and talk to people on the dating sites immediately without going anywhere. And if we do
Yes.
get more pandemics or we get restrictions, then it's easier, isn't it?
Yes. And here's the thing, dating apps are not going anywhere. They are not
Yeah.
going anywhere. They're not, um, they're going to be with us for the long haul. More and more people are going to meet on dating apps. More and more people are going to get married off dating apps or
Yeah.
have long-term relationships on them. So the narrative also, which I think is hysterical, the narrative is starting to change on dating apps or dating
Mhm.
online. But I can meet someone on my own. I
Yeah.
don't need dating apps because I can meet them in real life. That, or I'm a loser because I'm on a dating app, which I've heard so many times.
Yeah.
That narrative has to change because this is a way of life now. This isn't something that was like, oh, when it first happened, this is going to go away. No, we even saw in the pandemic, it only got larger
Yeah.
than anything else. And that's how people are going to meet people at the end of the day. There's so many people too
Mm.
that you can meet. There's millions and millions of people. What is it? I think the average is 27% of relationships start from online dating.
That's only going to increase as well over
Yeah.
time, I think, as more and more apps come along. I think what's going to happen next is we're going to get a more premium service where they charge more for members in return for getting more quality profiles and people maybe with better jobs, better grammar, better looking for long-term relationships. So that Tinder will always be there. It'll always be a basis that it's going to be free. But people are looking for something more. I think matchmaking itself has grown a lot, and I work with lots of matchmaking firms as the coach. That's grown a lot, and I think premium services with good quality coaches on there, like us, is what's going to come next. And I'm excited for that, because I think people want to use these apps, but they get frustrated with their results. And if we can help them do that, and the apps can help them do that, and they're willing to pay for it, then it'll be a very happy world, and people are going to be happy.
Yeah, because I feel like, and I don't know how you feel about this, but I'm sure we probably think the same. That's why we're doing what we're doing. Nobody taught us how to date.
No.
Nobody taught us how to love. We only learned by watching, but we never learned how to date, because most likely our parents didn't teach us that. That wasn't part of what they wanted to teach us, by the way. And I understand that they see us as their children, so they don't want to see other visions of us. But we're here to help people out there to learn how to do this. Learn how to love yourself.
Yeah.
Like, honestly, because to love yourself first, you will meet someone that will love you the way you love yourself, or in the version of how you should be loved.
That's so true. And I wish they taught this at school. I wish people were taught how to have better relationships. The world would be a much happier, better place if they allowed us to go into schools and even at an early age and teach them how to communicate between the sexes, make new friends, and empower people. That's what we do as coaches. Now, do you know what? We've come to the end of the half an hour already here. So,
oh my goodness, this is great.
It's wonderful. We could keep on talking, but I think we better go. So, if someone wants to find out more about you and what you do and wants your help, how would they do that?
Well, you can find me on Instagram, and it's Dorinda, DORINDA _ NXT Connection. You can find me there. It's a great little place. Every morning I do a daily Hype Woman session. So if you're feeling bad about yourself, I'll make you feel good. Or at NXTconnection.com. That's my website. You can find me there. And I'm also on TikTok as the Hype Woman.
Oh, fantastic. I must get into TikTok one day. I haven't really mastered or got the time for it yet, but I want to do it.
It's a crazy place.
It is. The world's a crazy place. But that's why we love it, isn't it?
Yes.
So, Dorinda, thank you so much. And it's been wonderful. I'm sure we'll talk again, and we'll have to talk about some crazy date stories next time, maybe. I'd love to hear
Oh my God, I got some good ones.
Brilliant. Have a great rest of the day, and I'll speak to you very soon.
All right. Bye.
Thank you so much for listening. I'd love to give you a free copy of my latest book, which you can download right now from my website, jamespreece.com. If you enjoyed this podcast, I'd really appreciate it if you could share the love by taking a few seconds to write a positive review on the iTunes store right now. See you next time.